I need a workplace for my forge, but I'm not comfortable with a wooden shed. I'm afraid that it'll go up in flames. I picked up this giant pallet rack at the scrapyard. It would be perfect for a forging shed. I've only got this weekend to build it, and this thing's 16 foot tall. I definitely don't need a skyscraper, so let's get started by cutting this thing in half.
This is the shed that I made out of old pallet racking that I bought from the scrapyard a few years ago. And I think I paid less than $100 for all of it, which is maybe 3 or 4 times what we're going to use here on this project. This is the same shelving that you see in the big box stores that they store pallets of cement and shingles on. Each of those pallets weighs over 2,000 pounds, and a span like this will hold 2 or 3 of them, totaling about 6,000 pounds. I don't think that we have to worry about this thing falling down. Another great advantage of building this way is since it's going to be a hot shop with a fire in it, I really don't have to worry about the walls catching. Would you build a shed out of old pallet racking like this one? Let me know in the comments.
Alright, so this morning I'm going to pour some concrete footers, we'll call them. Really, they're just weights to keep this from maybe blowing away. Because this is a temporary spot, I don't want to put permanent footers in. So we've measured it all out, and these should be right, but you know how measurements work. I didn't exactly get an A in geometry.
We needed to level a spot for the bottom of the pallet rack, so we cast some small cement footers to level the ground. When I pour my cement for something like this, I usually add a little bit more water so that it flows a little bit better and reduces the air pockets. A side effect of adding more water is that it reduces the strength. But since these little piers are not going to be subjected to a lot of stress, strength really isn't an issue. A lot of people think that cement dries out, but really cement cures. The water is bonded chemically in the crystalline structure of the cement. Some water does evaporate or gets lost to the ground, but in this case, it's not very much.
I was thinking about it, and what we should have done is we should have set this all up with the beams and just shifted it over, and then we would have known exactly where to. That would have been smart.
I've built several sheds in the past, both from those kits that you get at the big box stores and like the shed behind me from regular lumber, even out of pallets themselves. This is by far the easiest and quickest shed that I've ever thrown together. Though it doesn't currently have walls, they'll be easy to screw onto the skeleton structure. I had to get this shed built in just one weekend because my kids were home from university and I had the week off of work for the holidays. Additionally, the weather is pretty nice this week, which made it one of the few times in the next several months that I'll be able to cast cement without it freezing overnight. I really wanted to be able to forge this winter and don't have a good place to set up my anvil and forge, so I needed to get this thing built. Another great thing about this shed is that it'll be easily moved because this is not where I want my hot shop to be. Eventually, I'd like it to be on the other side of our little drainage, but that might require building a bridge, and that's a summertime project.
Washing the roof. And it doesn't fit. Well,
We really messed up measuring for these footers. One of them is in completely the wrong spot. Fortunately, because they're not dug in very deep and really made to be removed, we were able to pull it out and shift it over about 8 inches. The problem comes down to the fact that I measured the outside of the shelves and then set that to the inside of the footers. It would have been much easier and smarter if we would have assembled the shelf and just moved it out of the way, because it's light enough to easily be moved by 2 or 3 people. The rails on this shed are made out of steel and can carry about 6,000 pounds. I think that it'll be okay with the 4 or 5 pieces of sheet metal and 4 or 5 pieces of poplar board. The old barn that we tore down contributed the sheet metal and the lumber for this project. It'll also contribute the walls when we get to those. Additionally, you'll notice the anvil and the vise that were set up. The vise is one that I pulled out of the trash many years ago and have never had a very good place to mount it. It needs to be cleaned up and have new jaws fitted. The anvil is just a chunk of old railroad track, and it's fitting that it's mounted on a chunk of old railroad bridge. Both of these are dug in deep enough that they're not going anywhere.
Honestly, this is one of the easiest sheds I've ever put together. This will be a great little shed for forging in, and I'm never going to have to worry about a fire. And this thing's going to be great for years to come.
If this build gave you any ideas or saved you from building something that could burn down, drop a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought, or if you'd try something similar. And hit subscribe if you want to see more scrap to shop projects like this.